Testing.
Testing. We're just gonna, I think
Testing.
it's
Yeah.
okay. So, welcome back to episode 2 of the To Be Seen podcast. I'm with my first official guest, Ann LeCompte. She is one of my close friends. When I started my business, um, she has kind of been there when I transitioned. She's been there through many lifestyle changes. She's really one of my day ones go-to people that I count on when it comes to friendship, life, business, anything. And it's like that person for me. She is also one of the beastiest photographers in Houston. She travels as well. I'll let her tell you about her journey, but this is Ann LeCompte.
Hi. Oh my gosh, that was a nice welcome.
Yes. I'm so excited. I was like, when I started this, I was like, Ann she gotta be my first guest.
Why am I nervous?
That's acting right.
It is, because I'm like, I don't know. It's something, when you have just conversations, period, point blank, it's just a conversation, but it's something about, I'm used to being on the other side.
Yeah.
So this is pressure.
Right.
3 cameras. Oh my God. New mics. Testing.
Genuine. So you're a photographer, you do video too. But what made you kind of start this journey? What made you decide, hey, I want to pick up a camera, this is my thing?
So I feel like for me, in high school or even just growing up in general, I feel like I always knew that I wanted to do something, I guess kind of sort of within entertainment. And then something that I've always also enjoyed was just flipping through my family photos growing up. And it started off me wanting to get more into film. So throughout high school, I was in a digital media program through my high school, and then I found out about a program at NYU. I applied to it, got in it, and I think that kind of solidified it for me. It's something that I enjoy as far as just knowing the process that happens for a lot of the things that we see as entertainment, whether it's TV shows, movies that we watch, or even just going through a magazine and just seeing the photos. So that always has sparked my interest. It's always sparked my interest as far as just knowing the process and how things work outside of just what we see as the final form of things. And I mean, it's something that I pursued throughout school. But even outside of school, I started just taking photos of my friends for their graduations, and then just started doing more fun things after I graduated high school and college. And I was just kind of sharing the work that I was doing from friends. And luckily, COVID, it's crazy. I mean, COVID was a crazy time period, point blank. And I know it was a bad time for a lot of people, but I feel like as creatives, a lot of people also said that it was a very pivotal, great time. Yeah. So for me, that was a great transitional time for me to go from, I was working 2 jobs at that point in 2 different restaurants, but I was able to work my schedule to where at one job, I was mornings, Monday through Thursday, and then the other one, it was evenings, Monday through Thursday. But with both of them, I specifically told them that I needed the weekend off always, because at that same time, I was doing weddings back in 2018. That's when I first met you. And I feel like from then, I prioritized my weekends for my craft, basically, to be able to just learn and grow. So I was doing a lot of weddings, but then I was also doing different things with friends. So again, going back to COVID, once COVID came, working in restaurants, I'm sure everybody knows, you couldn't.
Yeah.
Unless you were a manager or whatever, and then it was only to go. But basically, I was out of work. And, most people had their stimmy. Most people had unemployment, all these different things. I didn't get anything. So whenever it came back time to start working again, it was only one place, one of the jobs that I was able to go back to. And for me, I immediately went back because I needed the money for all of the different responsibilities that I had at that point. But I was also just mentally over it, and I saw the influx in just the
People wanted
yeah.
content and they wanted stuff.
Well, content, but also when it comes down to weddings, you know, a lot of weddings got canceled
Mm.
from COVID. So a lot of them got rescheduled until when we opened back up. And living in Texas, we opened back up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So wedding season naturally is like August, September starting for Houston
Yeah.
up until December. So a lot of things got rescheduled because we opened back up kind of in like what, June, July ish. So by August, I basically told my job I was going to LA, and I told them I wasn't sure if I was coming back. And I did end up coming back. I was there for like 2 weeks, but I never told them that I was back. So I basically just kind of sort of quit. Yeah. So I kind of just say it was basically that leap of faith that I've always feel like is so important within anything that you do, is really just taking that leap of faith. And I feel like I went off track.
No. That, you know what that made me think of when you said leap of faith? It made me feel like it goes back to how we met.
Yeah.
So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you were so like, I have to get this, I gotta go get this. Like Ann reached out to me. The way we met was, and I think you were just reaching out to people, and it was like, hey, like I'd love to come work with you. I'd love to come, you know, learn more or get more experience in this area. And I think Ann was probably like the first person that ever reached out to me like that. And I was just like, she knows what she's doing. She is willing to put herself out there and be vulnerable. And that is not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy as an artist. And be like, hey, this is what I wanna kind of get to know this. And we met, we had a meeting, and it was just like we kind of locked in, literally like as we kind of move forward, just locking in more and more and more and more. And I think that goes to show like you have to kind of grab an opportunity by the throat sometimes. And I think for people that are watching us as creatives and like how we grow, you got to step out of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
We wouldn't have met if that didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm going through that process all over again with myself right now, wanting to kind of just like pivot what I'm doing, which is a whole other thing in itself.
Yeah.
But it's so important to put yourself out there, because the thing is, one thing that I've learned for sure is that opportunities usually do not just come to you.
Yeah.
They don't just come. You have to make those opportunities, whether it's conceptualizing your own thing, reaching out to people, because people, when you start off, usually people are not going to know you.
Yeah.
People are not going to know you, and that's fine. But you have to make it to where if you want something, you just have to go get it. Yeah, you have to be seen. You have to go get it. You have to make it known, because people can't read minds. People are not just going to know. So,
yeah.
That
makes me, okay, so when I first started in weddings, because for a while there, I could not get out of doing portraits. And portraits, if no one knows, is just doing like family photos and people, just capturing people. And I so desperately wanted to do weddings. And I came up with this idea that like, I was just going to see who recently got engaged in Houston on Facebook. Everybody was hashtagging everything. And so what I did was, and maybe this is safer because I was a young Black girl, but I would like message people on Facebook and be like, hey, I'd love to give you a free engagement session, or I'd give you your wedding at a discount because I'm kind of starting out.
Yeah.
And that opened the door. And it just makes me think of like, when you're a go-getter, like I was not thinking about, oh, this makes me vulnerable. It was kind of like all or nothing. Like I got to kick the door down. And it's like I was coming up with like outrageous ideas, but I kind of forget that I took it there when I first started. And I look back, like those things are what are my stepping stones to where I am.
And you know what's crazy? I feel like that makes me think of something that is a lot of times so controversial within, I know, the photography community, but I feel like a lot of artists and creatives in general is doing like free work for portfolio.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, some people are completely for it and some people are completely like against it. And I feel like I've always been one person that has been for it.
Yeah.
Because to me, I think it again goes back to what we were kind of just talking about is putting yourself out there and nobody is going to know who you are. So it's kind of hard for somebody to trust you to pay X amount of dollars, even if you're starting out small. And that is like, don't get me wrong, but I feel like to have people to be able to trust you, you need to be able to have somewhere to show for.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes down to just doing different things for free, I feel like it takes some pressure off, especially when you're just starting, to know that, I mean, you're offering this service to somebody, unless it is like if it's a wedding or something, don't get me wrong, that's pressure regardless. But if you're just doing a photo shoot for a friend, you don't have the same amount of pressure that you have than if somebody is like paying you for it.
Yeah.
And then it still goes to show like you're able to gain that portfolio because just like you said, offering it to people for free, now you have something to show for somebody that's willing to pay. So you can show somebody those photos that you took for free, you can show to the next person and say, hey, I took those for somebody. I can charge you X amount of money.
Yeah.
And then similar to even like what I was doing getting into weddings, I was offering to come help people shoot weddings or do whatever for free
Yeah.
just to be able to learn.
Yeah.
So I feel like I will always be somebody that supports that. And it's of course knowing your worth, knowing when it comes to a stop.
Yeah.
It's not something forever. But I think at least in the beginning stages, if you don't have anywhere to show for, if you don't have any portfolio or anything like that, I always feel like that is a great thing to do, to be able to learn, to be able to grow with not the same amount of pressure than if somebody is like charging you, and you get experience from it. So
Yeah. And it's just also a chance for you to like get creative. And even though those who are listening may not be in the photography world, but whatever you're doing,
yeah.
whatever you're trying to get into, like put your ego aside
Yeah.
and be willing to step into a zone and say, hey, whatever you need to
Yeah.
do. And that also gives me you know, I've assisted for you at plenty of times. You've assisted for me. There's times where you're going to be the CEO, the president of
Yeah.
something, and there's times where you need to be the assistant. There's times where you need to make yourself a little bit smaller and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, like I'll carry the bags just so that I'm in the room."
Yeah.
And those are the things that get you here.
I agree. And I feel
You
like
know?
that also brings community into the thing, because just like you said, it doesn't only apply to photography, but I feel like it applies, like me doing a lot of like fashion editorial shoots. A lot of that is collaborate, like my personal shoots with people. Most of it is collaboration with models, hairstylists, makeup artists, all those different things. So still to this, I mean, even now I still do certain free work, but it's intentional.
Yeah.
And it is, I'm very intentional with how I do it and who I choose to do it with, what I choose to do it for, in all of these different things. But just like as a photographer, we do these certain things for free. Models can do it for free to be able to get portfolio, working with different photographers, hairstylists, makeup artists. It's all working towards a bigger goal to be able to network and make a community, because especially being an artist, I feel like, and honestly, whatever that you're doing, community is going to be so important, because it's going to bring other opportunities. Some amazing opportunities that I've had has come from other people that I've met from doing collaboration work with, and that I did not get paid from. It leads to so many things. And just like you're saying, the people that you meet on set.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes, just like you say, you do have to kind of just like do the role that you're not used to doing, but it can bring you in a room with other people. Because shoot, me being PA on a set, and it's not something that I'll usually do. I feel like I've met so many people from that I believe can and has helped me work towards bigger goals that I want to do, and other things that I want to pursue as well. So I think it's so important to be able to find some type of community through doing collaboration work, which is not paid typically.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you kind of have to make sure you have a goal behind it.
Exactly.
Just like you can't float in the wind. Like I said, we had strategies, and those strategies can. Let me just also pivot and say, don't be afraid to fail at it.
Yeah.
Because we're not saying that those strategies 100% worked every time.
Yeah.
But we gained friendship. We gained lessons, we gained strength.
Mm-hmm.
Like people critiqued us, at least for
Mm-hmm.
me, on how to be better. So
Yeah.
there's so many things that I've learned through this. Um,
Yeah, skill set. Yeah,
Skill set,
there's a
a
lot of
greater
things.
skill set.
And I still want to say it, all of these things, like when it comes down to free work, collaboration work, portfolio work, all these things, I want to stress that it is doing it intentionally. Intentionally.
Is key.
Yes, because know your worth. Do not let people take advantage of
Yeah.
it for sure. Because you still, especially if it is something that you're doing as like a full-time thing, know your worth. Know when you're supposed to be getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, know the difference. If it's a mutually, it has to be, especially when it comes down to collaboration work, I feel like it should be a mutually beneficial thing for all parties in some type of way. So I think it is really knowing when to do it.
Yeah.
By any means, like for sure, do not do it all the time. Like don't overwork yourself and stress. But for me personally, I feel like it has definitely helped with a lot of things because it brings you, once you put out the work that you enjoy doing, you start attracting the work that you want to receive. You put out, you attract what you put out essentially. Yeah. And I think that's so important. That's a whole other thing that I love about collaborations. I truly feel like whatever type of work that you put out, that's going to be how people view you in the world, and that's going to be what they're going to reach out to you for. So, and that goes to, again, any type of artist. If you're doing a more traditional makeup style, then that's the type of clients that you get. But if you show that you can do like a more creative style glam and you're working and you're doing editorial stuff, then people are going to reach out to you for that. Same thing with photographers. If you're if you're doing predominantly family photos, then people are going to reach out to you for that. But if you're doing family photos and you say you want to do fashion editorial, then start doing fashion editorial.
The only way you break into that is like, offering yourself somewhere if someone's not reaching out to you.
Exactly. Or putting together your own thing. So, yeah.
And on the flip side of that, also, like, if you are at a higher level, don't be afraid to help people, because at least in my business, when I first started on my new journey in pivoting, I kind of reached out to people as well and was turned away. And there are people, those are some of the same people that have kind of circled back, like now trying to
crazy to see. Crazy,
they've circled back. But I remember how they were when I was like, to them, not skilled. And I don't want to say don't just hand over everything, someone that just knocks on your door and says, can you help me start from scratch? But don't be afraid to like, lend your services or like help people that have questions or whatever. Because I feel like if I was turned off or whatever, I would have missed out on such a powerful friendship that we have, in life. And I feel like there are so many people out there that close themselves off thinking like they're too high and mighty to share, or get information.
People be real funny acting.
Oh my God.
People can be
in the creative world.
People can be real funny acting. It's crazy.
Like, it hurts you to be helpful, doesn't it? That's crazy. But yeah, so we encourage you to not be so in your ego at times. Creating is love, creating is sharing, creating is community. But yeah, I just want to touch back on like our friendship and what that means and how it kind of blossoms through this business, where we kind of started as, in the wedding business, and then you've watched my dogs for me. We take care of me. But I think it is very, what I'm trying to say is, to me, it is very important to make sure you have friends, like genuine friends in your community that you can lean on. Because I feel like there's so many times where I've called you or you've called me and we've had an idea and it can immediately get executed because it's such a safe space in this creative world. And I know a lot of people that look at our friendship and they're like, I wish I had an Angela in my corner. I wish I had an Ian in my
Yeah.
corner. And I know it's hard to come by. And I think it's so beautiful because I feel like you can call me for anything
Yeah.
and I could call you for anything.
Of course.
And I think I just want to encourage everyone to make sure or to be open to that kind of community,
Yeah.
you know?
I think with us, just like you said, it started off like the way that it even started off. We started by meeting at a Starbucks.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, from going to weddings, let me preface this also by saying, I think especially at that time, I did not know a lot of Black women photographers, wedding photographers specifically too. So going to these weddings that was predominantly in a non-Black space, Black people, we have our language that is nonverbal a lot of times. So it was comforting because outside of you, the other photographers that I was working with at that point, they were not Black. I think they were all actually white, and they were all great. They were all absolutely great. They were beautiful people, and they helped me out a lot. But again, when it comes to that nonverbal communications, there's things that we understand and that we get that is not quite the same. So I feel like it kind of rooted in that
space.
yeah, and kind of just like joking around throughout the day because wedding days are long. I feel like it's great when you can have that friendship at the same time that you're working because it's long days.
Yeah.
And there's times when we do need to step away and vent because when it comes down to, and I'm sure anybody at work, any type of work that in period point blank can relate and understand that is that, I mean, when you're working, people are going to piss you off sometimes.
Yeah.
And people are going to do things that's irritating. So I think we found comfort in being able to console each other within that. I don't know where the transition happened, where we just started hanging out outside of
Right. Start going.
I can't pinpoint the exact time, honestly, but I think we both found comfort in each other because through weddings we were able to really just get to know each other, and I feel like it was always genuine.
Yeah.
It was always genuine. There was never any type of ill intentions that we felt through each other, and I think it was always also a supportive. It was always we just felt the support between each other. So it's easy to transition into a friendship from that when I feel like the basis of any type of relationship, platonic or anything, is going to be built on trust.
Trust and authenticity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And comfort as well, to be comfortable. And because I know with me, it takes me a little second to warm up to people to be truly, truly comfortable. So I feel like I felt that within you, and I'm assuming it was mutual because here we are now. Here we are now. But yeah, to be able, I think just like you said as well, to express the different things that we were going through, because again, even outside of work, I feel like we were going through many different life situations. We were going through many life situations that we needed somebody.
Yeah. Genuinely.
We just needed somebody.
Yeah.
And again, going back to weddings, even outside, like we were hanging out outside of weddings, but a lot of times at weddings also is like the times that we would just be chopping it up about all of these different matters. So I feel like whether it was relationships or people that we were dealing with at that time, the things that we were going through, family, just different aspects, that I feel like once you can have that trust within a person, these aren't things that you typically just talk about with like anybody. So I feel like we established this rapport amongst each other, and over time, I don't know, it just blossomed into a very, very beautiful thing.
Like with no direction.
Yeah.
Like I think for me too, we also number one, hold each other accountable, because I know
Yes, you are absolutely right.
I
You
know
are absolutely right.
there are plenty of times where like I'm tripping, you know, and you're not afraid to tell me that I'm tripping
Yeah.
or that I've overreacted or whatever it is. And I think also we kind of we have that safe space to, like, if I'm struggling or if I need something or whatever it is, we have that opportunity to push each other
Yeah.
forward. So like just like this podcast, the first person I'm like, I know I need in, I
Yeah.
need in. So I think that is such a beautiful thing that I cherish so much, because
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't have that. And it's just like, that's something that I want to celebrate, is that you hold me accountable. If I have any type of idea, like, and you can step your foot in, you will.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's
Yeah.
something I feel like I would cherish forever. Um,
I agree. Because I think also too, for me especially, I did not know many people that was interested in doing the same things that I was
yeah.
doing. So I've always looked to you as a mentor when it came down to, and still I look to you this way. You know, I'll call you, ask about taxes. As a matter, we'll talk about that later because
Genuinely though.
yeah, taxes is always my big one.
No.
So I didn't call you many times.
Yeah.
Them that wanted to cry out of anger.
Yeah.
Out of anger about just so many, yeah, about a lot of business related things as well. So I feel I didn't have anybody that I knew that could like be able to just like really help and guide me in that way. And then just like you said, when it comes to different creative things, we've always had and we've always wanted to just do more and explore and venture out of the things that are paying us
Yeah.
essentially. So with this right now, girl, first of all, okay, let me
Let's talk about it. This is not easy.
it's not easy, but I'm not even talking about the rigor of it. I'm talking about this podcast, episode 1 or 2, I don't know, because
Right.
we've been talking, or let me say she, Angela, has been talking about this podcast for so long. And I was just telling her before we started filming, that I remember sitting in Toot Suite.
Yes.
And we were talking about all of our different goals that we wanted to reach and the different things that we wanted to do 2 years ago. Because I remember it was in the spring. I think it was in March of 2022, I believe. And she had been talking about this podcast, been talking about it. And I mean, I'm sure as we all do, there's things that we want to pursue. Life happens. Life happens.
Yeah.
We get it. But I just want to take this time to say I am so damn proud to be sitting here, and like if y'all could see this whole setup, if I could grab like one of these cameras and like yes.
Yeah.
I'm so proud because that's another thing that I'm gonna say. Angela, one thing when she gonna do it all the way. She said she just got these mics a couple days ago.
Couple days ago.
I walked in and I was like, "Were these here already?" She said, "No, I just got them.
I just got these.
got them.
I gotta do it well. I gotta do it well.
Yeah."
But I think that's true. It's
I'm
like
so
I
proud.
love to move as like a lot of people think that I'm like a one woman show, but I think that also goes to friendship, where it's like it may look like that, but there's like a huge community of people that are cheering me on. And you're one of those people that I'm just like, what should I do? I need brand photos. I need this. I need that. And it's like, that's the importance of, you cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone. It might look like that, but you have to have your people with you, like, and that is something that I've learned. Like, I cannot move forward without my people with me, or, my people supporting me. And I like, I'm so thankful for it. But with that being said, so since you're like my first guest and this is a To Be Seen podcast, my last question to you is, what does it mean for you to be seen?
Oof. I think that it's knowing that you're making a difference in somebody's life. in whatever type of way, whether it's inspiring somebody to pursue their passion, their dream, or something that they thought was unattainable. And I would say especially within arts, I think in the current day that we live in, it's become a bit more accepting, but I feel like a lot of times people don't believe that you can make a career out of following your passion, following something that you want to do. And I think to be seen, I feel like to be seen is for people to know through me that if you really do whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. And it sounds so cliche, and I know it. But I don't get me wrong, I feel like that's one of the things. I think to be seen is multiple things. I feel like it can also be recognition within the field that you're doing. I mean, me within fashion, and editorial, photography, within that space to work with the clients that I dream of working with. Um, it's so many things that I feel like it can definitely mean. So it's hard to even encompass it into one specific thing. But I think that those two are probably that I can think of right now.
Yeah.
Watch when this is done, I'll kind of
We'll have all the
literally. But as of right now,
would you say the goal is to be seen?
I don't think the goal is to be seen. I feel like for me, well, and I guess in one way, yes, it can be. But I think the goal, when it comes down to goals, a goal is to just be able to make a positive impact in somebody's life in some type of way. Um, whether making a positive change somehow, some way, whether it's the photos that I'm taking being seen, passed down years to come, just like growing up, the family photos that I've gone through. And it doesn't necessarily have to be family photos, but whether it's graduation, somebody's birthday photos, just photos that I've taken of people for fun, or if it is just like a cover of something to be able to show people that have not been represented in a positive spotlight. Because I feel like a big thing, again, for me, I shoot anybody. I love shooting everybody, but I really love shooting people of color and Black people because a lot of times we're not shown in the brightest light.
Yeah.
Or when it comes down to just basic terms, a lot of people do not shoot us right.
Yeah.
Photograph. A lot of people do not know how to photograph melanated skin well. So I want to be able to do that in a better way. And I feel like, again, in the current day that we live in, thankfully, there are a lot more photographers that are being noticed and being seen to be able to show us in a better light that is being photographed beautifully. And I want to be a part of that. But yeah, I think to be seen again is really just to be able to know that I'm making a difference in somebody, because I have every now and then, I'm not going to say it's just all the time, but to know that like what I do it is like impacting people in some type of way, inspiring them to want to pursue something that they do, just things like that. And I think again it goes back to community in whatever type of way I want to be able to help people, to be a part, to make a positive change, to tell a story in some type of way. And that's something that I'm constantly working on, is to be able to tell stories through the photos. Um, so yeah, I think that that's
That makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm so thankful to have you as our first official guest
I'm happy to be
on the
here.
Be Seen podcast.
Hey.
So I will put all of her information if y'all want to go see her amazing work, her wedding work, or her fashion and editorial work. So yeah, thank you again for listening, and we'll see y'all in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.